What's up, guys? It is Friday, January 6th, 10:40 a.m., and this is the Crypto Deep Dive. We're going to cover the 2023 climate scenarios, but before we jump into that, I need to give an urgent update because one of the peer-to-pairs, a huge signal has flashed, XRP to XLM, and I'm keeping people updated in the Discord, so you want to go join the Discord. The link will be in the bio, and remember, you want to get signed up for that exclusive limited time Level Up 2023 offer. I'll put the link in the bio as well too. Get signed up for that. It's the cheapest it's going to be today. 222 one off for the whole year. And then tomorrow it's going to be 333. Then Sunday it's going to be 444. Monday 555. And then we're done with it. No more exclusive offers until maybe April. But yeah, so get in on that so you can get updated with these things in real time. So this is what I told people. Guys, XLM looks ready. I'm swapping 13% of my XRP trading bags into XLM right now. And then here's the timestamp. At 10:03 a.m. from XRP, this much to XLM got that much. And now we're letting it ride out and we're waiting to see if a signal flashes now. I mean, we're close to flashing a buy now. XLM against XRP, I kind of front ran it a little bit, but then we just wait for the sell now signal. And look at the past sell now signals that the Stargate signals had hit on XLM versus XRP. Hit this top, hit this bottom, hit this top, hit these kind of local bottoms. And now it's going to ultimately nail this final bottom with XLM against XRP, and XLM looks ready to really rally here. So you want to get updated in real time with this stuff. The peer-to-pair signals accumulate more coins, not by adding more money in, but trading in peer-to-pair XLM to XRP with what you already have to accumulate more of each of them. That's what we're doing. So come join the Discord and get signed up for that exclusive package that we're doing limited time. Today, $222 one off. Tomorrow, 333, then the next day, 444, then 555, and then we're done with it. So get yourself signed up on this one-time payment for the whole year. Okay, so let's dive into the articles. So we have this. I downloaded the report from the Bank of London with talking about the Corporate Treasurer's Guide to Innovation. The Corporate Treasurer's Guide to Innovation, launching a scalable cross-border business growth strategy of payments in the Bank of London collaboration, examines the challenges corporate treasurers face in developing secure, scalable, global payment strategies and explores the role of a modern clearing bank in supporting long-term growth. So we go down here, it talks about, so they give a little intro, but there's really three main parts. It's building beyond barriers, compliance, clearing, payments, and settlements. Then you have the global growth quick start guide, how to launch a global growth strategy with any technology stack. And then you have the executive insight and conclusion. So let's dive into it. Bank of London. So a global clearing bank serves as an overlay to the existing international payments ecosystem, empowering banks, clearing houses, payment networks, and other global institutions to develop new financial products and manage transactions that are efficient, frictionless, and compliant with global and regional regulatory standards. A modern clearing bank automates global clearing, payments, settlements for organizations at any point in their growth cycle. Whether the client is a global retailer, a fintech, or a bank, transparency and control over payments processes are essential for compliance and long-term growth. The most innovative clearing banks remove the friction from cross-border payments operations, providing transparency and control over liquidity decisioning, as well as clearing and settlement processes. A clearing bank with a sufficient technology stack, assets, and banking communications infrastructure can offer organizations first-run, continuous transfer, rapid, irrevocable settlement, and immediate funds disbursement at any time. These features allow businesses to plot growth with the security of a robust, extensible cross-border payments management system at the ready. There we go. So how to launch it. They're telling people corporates how to exactly launch it. So modern clearing banks manage global compliance, liquidity, and foreign exchange risks. 3 steps of modernizing the strategy. So to choose the right payments clearing solution, look for near instant clearing and settlement as well as payments without liquidity constraints or friction in funds management. Audit your existing technology stack and look for components that fail to align with modern standards. Review banking infrastructure connections. If your current clearing bank cannot scale with your business, consider instead utilizing a cloud-based scalable solution. So then you have an executive insight from the Bank of London. So corporate treasurers face a more diverse and demanding role than ever before. In addition to risk and liquidity, growth potential is now key. In an ever-advancing technological world, the challenge of real-time payments, specifically single euro payment area and faster payments, points to the reality that a global real-time payment environment is an inevitability. Treasury function will have to adapt and reinvent the liquidity operation to cater to real-time cross-border payments. Conclusion: corporate treasurers have many responsibilities, such as supporting global business growth by aligning payments processes with long-term business revenue objectives, by superseding the frictions of correspondent banks. A modern clearing bank can deliver new efficiencies to global payments processes at every touch point. When payments and disbursements are settled rapidly and with consistent processing times, organizations have better control over their fiscal strategy and greater freedom to develop long-term business plans. In these ways and more, a modern clearing bank can help treasurers streamline payments and effectively manage global cash flows while limiting resource drain and streamlining accounts payable and accounts receivable operations for optimal enterprise resource management. Bank of London. So the Bank of London is a leading edge technology company and the world's first purpose-built global clearing agency and transaction bank. They leverage their patented technology innovations and differentiated bank capabilities to lift economies and communities by powering the borderless economic infrastructure of the future, the new digital public infrastructure. Our clients are banks, clearinghouses, digital and traditional asset firms, governments, financial services companies from local fintechs to global institutions, payment networks, and non-financial brands seeking to launch fully compliant financial products and services in-country and cross-border. They're headquartered in London with offices in New York. There we go. So we're going to go into the energy and the climate scenarios. So bumps in the energy transition, December 2022. Despite a growing global consensus, obstacles to reducing net carbon emissions to zero are stark. The global disruptions in energy markets and the war in Ukraine have added impetus to the push for renewable energy and the drive toward net zero carbon emissions. Yet, even as the global consensus around the energy transition becomes stronger, the challenges to that transition are also becoming clearer. In addition to the uncertain pace of technological development and deployment, 4 issues in particular stand out. Here are the 4 issues. The return of energy security as a prime requirement for countries, lack of consensus on how fast the transition should and can take place, in part because of its potential economic disruptions, sharpening divide between advanced and developing countries on priorities in the transition, obstacles to expanding mining and building supply chains for the minerals needed for the net zero objective. So it seems like, if I'm kind of digging kind of behind what they're saying here, it seems like they're having issues. The elites are kind of, they're having like global consensus, but they're having 4 key areas where they're having trouble kind of figuring out. And one of them is the lack of consensus on how fast they should do this. Maybe some countries are like, come on, like, what are you waiting for? Let's do this. And some are like, just not yet. Maybe that's playing out behind the scenes. Who knows? But it seems like that to be the case because some countries are a little more wary because they know the potential economic disruptions, mega huge disruptions that it will cause. The need for energy security was a concern that had largely faded over the past several years. The energy shock, the economic hardship that ensued, skyrocketing energy prices that could not have been imagined 18 months ago, and geopolitical conflicts, all these have combined to force many governments to reassess strategies. This reassessment recognizes that the energy transition needs to be grounded in energy security that is adequate and reasonably priced supplies to ensure public support and avoid severe economic dislocations. So they know that they can't go as far as the pricing with some of the energy shock. There's going to be an energy shock. You're seeing it in Europe. And they're reassessing it because they know that, hey, we can't get the public support if we keep kind of pressing this hard. And they're trying to avoid severe economic dislocations with the dangerous political consequences that can follow. Civil wars, rioting, a clash between the majority population with the elites. That's what they're basically saying here. The current global energy crisis did not start with February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Rather, it began in late summer of 2021. The economic rebound that came with the ending of the global C-19 lockdowns fired up global energy consumption. Oil, natural gas, coal markets all tightened in the latter part of 2021, sending prices up as demand pushed against what became apparent insufficient supply. It was in November 2021, 3 months before the invasion, that the U.S. government announced the first release from its Strategic Petroleum Reserve. What has become clear is that the preemptive underinvestment has constrained the development of adequate new oil and gas resources. There are a number of reasons for this underinvestment: government policies and regulations, environmental, social, and governance considerations by investors, poor returns caused by 2 price collapses in 7 years, and uncertainty about future demand. The shortfall in an investment was preemptive because of what was mistakenly assumed that sufficient alternatives to oil and gas would already be in place at scale by now. Some have described what is currently unfolding as the first energy crisis of the energy transition, a mismatch between supply and demand. If it does prove to be only the first, future such crises will create uncertainty and cause major economic problems and will undermine public support for the energy transition. So, energy transitions throughout history. I like this. The first energy transition was from wood to coal in the 18th century. Although coal was used as early as the 13th century in Britain because of the cost of wood had gone up, it emerged as a distinctive industrial fuel only in January 1709, when English metalworker Abraham Darby proved that coal was a more effective means for iron production than wood. He noted, though, that there are many who doubt me foolhardily, yet energy transitions have hardly been swift. Although the 19th century is known as the century of coal, that century actually still ran, in the words of energy scholar, on wood, charcoal, and coal residues. It was not until the 1900s that coal supplied half the world's energy demand. Oil was discovered in the US in 1859, more than a half a century later on the eve of World War I. Then First Lord of the Admiralty Winston Churchill directed the conversion of the Royal Navy from coal to oil for technological reasons: speed, flexibility, ease of refueling, and the elimination of crews shoveling coal. But it took until the 1960s, a century after it was discovered, for oil to overtake coal as the world's #1 energy source. Until now, energy transitions have unfolded over long periods of time. They also have really been energy additions rather than transitions. In the 6 decades since oil overtook coal as the world's #1 energy source, the global consumption of coal has almost tripled. The current climate-driven energy transition is meant to be achieved quickly, in little more than a quarter of a century, and is meant to be transformative. Coal is to disappear, and the European Union anticipates that hydrogen will provide 20 to 25% of the total energy by 2050. While it is the focus of increasingly intense activity and ambition, hydrogen provides less than 2% today. The objective of this transition is not just to bring new energy sources, but to entirely change the energy foundations of what today is a 100 trillion global economy. Crazy. Big numbers, big opportunity, speed of the transition. Now we're going to get, how fast they're going to roll this out. If energy security is the first challenge of the transition, timing is the second. How fast should it and can it proceed? There is much pressure to accelerate a significant part of the 2050 carbon emissions target toward 2030. But it sometimes seems that the scale of what is being attempted is underestimated. In my book, The New Map, I look at the previous energy transitions, and it is clear that this one is like no other. All previous transitions were driven largely by economic and technological advantages, not by policy, which is the primary driver this time. Each of the preceding transitions unfolded over a century or more, and none were the type of transition currently envisioned. The objective of this transition is not just to bring on new energy sources, but to entirely change the energy foundations of what today is a 100 trillion global economy, and do so in little more than a quarter century. A lot of stuff's got to happen in between that amount of time for that to take place. It is a very big ambition, and nothing on this scale has ever been attempted up until now. Some may have warned that because the scale of the transition is so large and far-reaching, the macroeconomic impact needs deeper analysis. In a European think tank, they observed that accelerating the targets for net carbon emission reductions too aggressively could cause much larger economic disruptions than generally anticipated, what he called an adverse supply shock, very much like the shocks of 1970s. Such as a transition just before the current energy crisis began is unlikely to be benign, and policymakers should get ready for tough choices. He subsequently added in 2022, climate action has become a major macroeconomic issue, but the macroeconomics of climate action are far from the level of rigor and precision that is now necessary to provide a sound basis for public discussions and to guide policymakers adequately. For understandable reasons, advocacy has too often taken precedence over analysis. But at this stage of the discussion, complacent scenarios have become counterproductive. The policy conversation now needs methodical, peer-examined assessments of the potential costs and benefits of alternative plans for action. North-South divide. So the third challenge is the emergence of a new North-South divide. sharpening the difference between developed and developing countries on how the transition should proceed. So we got the developed countries and the developing countries, and they're kind of going at it right now. The original North-South divide of the 1970s was collision between developed and developing nations over the distribution of wealth, and in particular, the pricing of commodities and raw materials. The division faded with globalization and advances in technology as reflected in the shift in non-nature to emerging market nations. For developing countries, what seems a singular emphasis on reducing emission needs to be balanced against other urgent priorities, health, poverty, and economic growth. So let's keep going down here. So the split is particularly evident when it comes to finance. Western banks and multilateral financial institutions have shut off finance for pipelines as well as for ports and other infrastructure related to hydrocarbon development. One African energy minister summed up the impact of the denial of access to finance as akin to removing the ladder and asking us to jump or fly. Finding a balance between the perspectives of the developing world, where 80% of the globe's population lives, and Western Europe and North America will take on increasing urgency. Finance shut off. The fourth challenge will be ensuring new supply chains for net zero. The passage in the US of the Inflation Reduction Act, with its massive incentives and subsidies for renewable source of energy. I believe Energy Web Token was actually mentioned in that act. The Repower EU plan in Europe and similar initiatives elsewhere will accelerate the demand for the minerals that are the building blocks for renewable energy, which requires wind turbines, electric vehicles, and solar panels, among other things. A host of organizations, the IMF, the World Bank, the International Energy Agency, the US government, the EU, Japan, have all issued studies on the urgency of those supply chains. The IEA projects that the world economy will be moving from a fuel-intensive to a mineral-intensive energy system that will supercharge demand for critical minerals. In the new map, I summarize this as the move from big oil to big shovels. So the S&P Global, the financial and analytical firm of which I am vice chairman, has sought to build upon those studies and quantify what is the supercharged demand for minerals might be. He goes in to say that the thrust of the energy transition is toward electrification, and copper is the metal of electrification. Copper. A lot of people are probably sleeping on copper then. This study took the types of year 2050 targets advanced by the US admin and the EU and assessed what realizing those targets would require for specific applications. For instance, the different components of an offshore wind system or EV. The choke point is supply. At the current rate of supply growth, which encompasses new mines, mine expansion, and greater efficiency and recycling, as well as substitution, the amount of copper available will be significantly smaller than the copper supply requirements. Supply and demand, price gotta rise, right? So S&P Global, the financial and analytical firm of which I am vice chairman, has sought to build upon those studies and quantify what that supercharged demand for minerals might be. S&P's global study, The Future of Copper, will the looming supply gap short circuit the energy transition. Focus on that metal because the thrust of the energy transition is toward electrification, and copper is the metal of electrification. The study took the types of year 2050 targets advanced by the US admin and the EU and assessed what realizing those targets would require for specific applications. For instance, the different components of an offshore wind system or electric vehicles. An electric car, for example, will require at least 2.5 times more copper than a vehicle with a conventional internal combustion engine. The conclusion of this analysis is that copper demand would have to double by the mid-2030s to achieve the 2050 goals. Copper, the demand is going up, the supply stays the same, or there's a shortage. That means price got to go up. We might have to look into get some copper. So the choke point is supply. At the current rate of supply growth, which encompasses new mines, mine expansion, greater efficiency, recycling, as well as substitution, the amount of copper available will be significantly smaller than the copper supply requirements. For instance, the IEA estimates that it takes 16 years from discovery to first production for a new mine. Some mining companies say more than 20 years. Permitting environmental issues are major constraints around the world. Also, copper production is more concentrated than, say, oil. 3 countries produced 40% of the world oil in 2021, the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. Just 2 countries produced 38% of copper, Chile and Peru. Copper is crucial. Copper prices have fallen about 20% from their high point this year. That reflects the metal's oft-noted role as Dr. Copper. It's priced as a predictor of economic slowdowns and recessions. Indeed, the IMF sees a sharp slowdown in global growth in 2022 and projects further slowing in 2023 and potential recession, as do many other forecasters. But Post-recession, the coming flood of demand from the energy transition will cause copper prices to rise again. As has been the historical pattern, the surge in demand and prices will likely create new tensions between resource-holding countries and mining companies, which in turn will affect the rate of investment. Moreover, as the race to net zero intensifies, there is a risk that the competition for minerals will become caught up in what has become known as the great power competition between China and the US. S&P's Global's Copper study is meant to contribute to a deeper analysis of the physical challenges to the energy transition. The wind industry has what a 12th century English champion of windmills called the free benefit of wind, and solar has the free benefit of the sun. But the physical inputs that go into harnessing those energies, the wind and solar power, are not costless. It's a very good point. So the effort to push a significant part of the 2050 goal toward 2030 will likely have to contend with significant physical constraints. These four challenges, energy security, macroeconomic impacts, the north-south divide, and minerals, will each have significant effects on how the energy transition unfolds. None are easy to grapple with, and they will interact with each other, which will compound their effects. But recognizing them will promote deeper understanding of the issues and requirements in seeking to achieve the energy transition. All right. So things are coming full circle for me after reading this. So I hope it did for you too, because basically what we can look at now is like, all right, are these four challenges, how are we moving on these four challenges? Is the north-south divide coming stronger? Is there more of a shortage of the minerals? How is the macroeconomic impact unfolded? How's the recession that plays out or is going to play out this year? How are these things unfolding? We can track these things as time progresses and see how likely we are to have a fast transition or a very slow, or maybe not even a transition at all. Maybe we don't even make it there. We can track it now through these four key things. So that's how we're going to track the green transition, which is going to be $100 trillion opportunity. And that's some big numbers right there. So we're going to be tracking this. We know the timeline. We know what to look for. If you haven't already, subscribe, click the notification bell to get updated real time. We're pushing like 3 out a day before noon. We're really sending it. We might even do 4 a day. Who knows? Come join the Discord. The link will be in the bio. And also 3 days left for the exclusive 2023 Level Yourself Up offer and promo. We're doing $222 for the year, flat rate today. If you don't sign up for that, tomorrow you got a second chance, but it's $333 flat rate for the year. And that's Saturday. If you don't sign up for that, all right, you got another chance on Sunday, but it's $444 for the flat rate for the whole year. And then if you don't sign up then, all right, Monday's the last day. And now it's $555 flat rate for the whole year for all these things included in that package. So you can even look at the other packages right there and see that some of the things included in this one-off package, I mean, you got the screener, $97 a month. That's around close over $1,000 for the year. Right now, you can get it for $222 one-off for the whole year, plus all these other things. I mean, if you see the value, you're watching the market updates, you're seeing these newsletters, you're seeing the deep dives, then I'd bite the bullet on it, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff over this year and there's going to be a lot of things unfolding. So you want to have the tools to level yourself up for 2023, and you want to be a part of the community that's going to be watching these things. We're watching all angles. We're making sure that we're on it, so you're on it. So I will see you guys in the next video, as well as actually, no more videos today. I will see you guys in the Discord. We're going to be tracking that XLM to XRP trade that we took earlier today. So I showed that earlier in the video. If you missed that, go back and hear what I had to say about that. But XLM looks like it's ready to gain some dominance in market share and really start to push up faster than XRP at this very moment. We're tracking that all in the Discord with the automated alerts. So if you're not already in the Discord, come join it. Link will be in the bio. Don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you guys have a happy Friday and a good weekend. So I'll see you guys in the Discord and in the next video.